Hey guys, welcome back to another video from Homesteading Off the Grid. I'm sitting just inside the wood line, hiding from the sun. It is like, as of this recording, it's just a little bit after 10 a.m., but it's like already 95 degrees here in Virginia. Go Who's go. And I already biked. I did like an 8-mile loop. So I'm still a little bit winded, bear with me. I just put on a dry shirt and whatnot. But I was going to take the camera with me and talk about some of this stuff out there on my bike ride so you could see more of that beautiful Blue Ridge Mountain, Virginia countryside. But my battery was dead, so I had to plug the phone in to charge while I was out biking. I can make a video of it now. This was kind of going to be a video about like these scammers, because I get contacted by these people. But there's so much more to it than just that. It's about like life. I mean, we always do these videos. They're supposed to be about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or green beans and corn, or who knows what they're supposed to be about. But they always end up being about life. So I'm just going to talk about several things today, which are, I think, scammers, friends, riding advice. Look at these tree bins back here. Where are they? Right there. Those are tree bins. Keep your eyes open right there. So this is how it all started. I got a call from some more scammers yesterday. I have read in the comment section here, people have mentioned that they too are writers and they want to know about publishing, self-publishing. What advice could I give them? As far as writing goes, this is the best advice I can give you. There's a guy named Stephen King. You've probably heard of him. He wrote a book called On Writing many years ago. In that book, he pretty much discloses almost everything he knows about the craft of writing, how he does it, what you got to do if you want to be good. The best advice I could give you is get that book and read it. I used to read that book twice a year, but I've read it so many times. I probably should read it again because I haven't read it in many years. I gave the last copy I had to a guy who was trying to pick my brain about writing. I said, "Here, just read this. Take this and read this." And he's like, "But what about what? Nope, take this and read this." If you're not willing to sit down and read that book, then you're not even close to being willing to do what is actually involved to be successful at writing. Okay. So with that said, once you get into the publishing world, that's a whole nother ball game. I self-publish because I read somewhere, and this might not be accurate, but I remember when I was thinking about going with traditional publishers, I saw that only 2% of all inquiry letters that are sent from writers to publishing houses even get opened. Okay, so 98% of them, you mail it off, nobody even opens it. So I wasn't, those numbers don't make sense to me. I've always been somewhat decent at math, and those numbers just didn't make sense. So I've gone the self-publishing route. Now, here's where the scammers come into play. I was scammed. I'm going to say tens of thousands of dollars, but that's just one individual who I won't name, but you'll probably know who I'm talking about. But I was probably scammed out of hundreds of thousands of dollars throughout the years before I kind of learned how the game worked, and now I just don't play it. So here's the scammers that called yesterday. Get a call, and they sent me a message too, and this happens a lot. It happened a few weeks ago, but here's yesterday's. So get a call, get a text. Hey, we're so-and-so. We're with this magazine. We would love to feature your Bigfoot Sasquatch file series you've got. We see you've got volumes 1, 2, and 3 on Amazon. We are also interested in investing in your series. Give us a call, blah, blah, blah. So this was left as a voicemail, and I was driving. So my beautiful bride, Dearly, a.k.a. Giggler Girl, she played that message. And my son was in the back seat, and he said, "Wow, Dad, that sounds good." I said, they're just scammers. So I explained it to him what's going on, and here's how this works. Okay, I have an established audience. It's taken me 10 years to get an established audience. And by the way, if you're watching this video, you're part of that established audience. And I want to thank you for being here, whether you've ever bought any of my books or not. If you take your time to watch my videos on YouTube, you matter to me. I appreciate you. Thank you. Okay. If you have read some of the books, thank you. But it's taken a lot of hard work. It's a lot of the work that goes into that. I mean, you guys remember, some of you have been here for the long haul. I would get up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, make a video or two for YouTube, be at the post office by 10 a.m. to shuck mail all day, and get home at 10 p.m. at night, working 12-hour days at the post office, a job I hated. It made me miserable, but I needed the income, and so I did that for 6 months. And there were times, one time I went 17 days straight without a day off. But all 17 of those days, I made 1 to 3 videos for this YouTube channel before I even went into the post office to walk up to 12 miles a day delivering that mail. Yeah, it is a lot of work. I've worked very hard to get to where I am. And I thank each and every one of you who've been along for the ride, okay? Because if it wasn't for you, it wouldn't have happened. So these guys call, oh, we want to feature your Bigfoot Sasquatch series, blah, 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 blah. I knew what was going on, and I explained it to my son. And I looked them up when I got home, and I'm not going to mention their name. They're not going to get any free advertising here. Here's what these people do. They'll go out and they'll start a blog. Anybody can start a blog. You go to GoDaddy.com. It's like $3.99. It's probably free now because the blogging bubble's burst. Okay, I was part of that bubble. Times were great when they were great, but man, when they dried up, Sahara Desert instantly. So they'll start a blog. They pitch themselves as being, like a magazine for people who like to read. They'll go out and they'll go to the Amazon top new 100 releases in each genre or whatever. And they know these are, they're mostly self-published writers like me, most of whom don't really have an established audience. And they're desperate for an established audience. And once upon a time, that was me. And this is, so, the scamming thing, it's a two-way street. I agreed to these agreements. I just didn't know how it worked. So they contact these people. It's a boiler room. They're boiler room bloggers, okay? I worked for 8 years on Wall Street. I know what's up. So when they contact me, I just don't even reply. I just don't even get back in touch with them. So they set up their blog. They feature up and coming new writers, and they want to invest in what you got going on. So if you don't know what's going on, you're like, oh yeah, you call them right back. Yes. Trust me, that was me. Maybe 8 years ago, and I got scammed out of tens of thousands of dollars monthly. I'm going to tell you about that. I'm hearing something back here. So here's how it works. They say, okay, hey, we're going to feature you in this article. We're going to feature your work. And here's how we're going to invest in your writing. We're going to put a link to your where you can buy your books on Amazon. And of course, they have counters on these websites. This part's real. If somebody goes to Amazon and purchases your book through our link, and they can track those sales, we get half of your royalties. And of course, here you are. You're like, yeah, sure. Because you're like, man, I'm going to get an article written about me in this magazine, and all their readers are going to read it, and they're going to buy my books. And so what if I have to give them half the profits or whatever? Here's the deal. They don't have an audience, but they know that you do. So if I were to say, yeah, let's do it. And then I came on here and I made a YouTube video and said, guys, guess what? My Bigfoot Sasquatch Files series just got featured in this, this online magazine. Go check it out. Go read all the nice things they said about me. So you're like, oh, wow, cool, Kevin. Yeah, we'll go over there and read that. And then you read it and it's like, wow, they said these nice things about Kevin. I really haven't read his books yet, but I think I want to. He's really doing good. And then so you click on that link and then you buy the book, and then these guys are making money from the audience I worked very hard to establish. That's the game. So, these were the guys that called the other day. How did I learn all this? Because I had to learn the hard way. And probably the biggest lesson I learned, I was in the Philippines, down and out in the Philippines, okay? And I was writing for Yahoo, and Yahoo paid me, okay? I never worked for free for Yahoo. I always got paid for anything I wrote for Yahoo. Well, I wrote this one article for Yahoo about female soldiers in combat. It went mega viral, won the Yahoo Content of the Year award. I mean, it's what put me on the map. Well, after that article came out, people just started contacting me. Well, this individual, and I'm not going to say the name, and listen, most people like most of these individuals, like the people I just mentioned with the magazine that wants to find people that have established audiences and then skim the cream off the top, you just give those guys enough rope and they eventually hang themselves. So the individual, I'm not going to mention his name. If I did, you'd know who this person was. Household name, or at least he was 10 years ago. He's obsolete now. But when you're down and out in the Philippines and you and your wife are barely eating and you're going to bed hungry every night because you're just making sure your kid is eating and you're hoping he doesn't get sick because you can't afford to take him to the doctor. And over there, they don't treat you if you don't have the money to pay for the treatment. Those were tough times. Those were some of the darkest days of my life. So this big, huge household name guy that works in media contacts me. And he says, I read your story. I know you're a veteran. He says, I've got this blog online thing. And this is before the bubble burst. And it was huge. He says, I want you to be my Veterans Affairs correspondent because I mostly wrote about veterans issues. And I was like, yeah. I'm sitting there underneath the mango tree in our yard, hoping my connection doesn't go out while I'm Skyping with the guy. I'd finally made enough money from Yahoo to where I could afford to buy a laptop and buy loads for internet. Over there, it's not like a monthly subscription. Like you buy like 5 hours worth of internet time and you got to be very careful because once it's gone, you got to go buy more. So I'm sitting there under the mango tree. Here's this guy. He's like, you're such a good writer. This article was so good. And I want you to write for me. You're going to be my official Veterans Affairs guy. I'm like, yes, this is great. He's like, all right, can you write something today and send it to me today? I'm like, yes, I'm going to go work on it right now. And he goes, oh, okay. He goes, oh, but one thing. I'm like, what? He goes, I'm not going to pay you. I'm like, huh? He goes, I can't pay you. I can't afford to pay you. All the money that we make is going back into the business for now to grow it. But you're getting in at a good time. And so I just wanted you to know that. But everybody knows, this is what he said. Everybody knows who I am. I'm a household name. So just by being associated with me, people will come to know who you are and you'll probably become a famous writer. And I was like, okay, because number one, I thought he was right. Number two, I was desperate. I was hungry. We were borrowing rice at double interest is how bad off we were. And we would go out into the jungle behind our hut and fortunately dearly knew what was edible and what wasn't. We were eating roots. We were eating root soup. It's called gabi. Gabi, very common plant over there. You can eat the roots. What's that? So anyway, I'm writing for this guy. I'm pumping him out. I'm doing 1 or 2 stories a day. And I'm doing this for like a month, maybe a month. And I get a call from another editor, from another organization, another huge online blog place. And she goes, look, I don't know what, and she mentioned the dude's name. She goes, I don't know what he's paying you, but I'll double it if you work for us. Look at that right there. I heard a tree knock. So I said to her, well, 0 times 2 is still 0, but I mean, I love to write and I'm trying to get established. Sure, I'd feel honored to work for you guys, even if you don't pay me. And she goes, whoa. Time out. She goes, number 1, we don't do that. Number 2, you're telling me this guy isn't paying you for your writing? And I said, no, he's not. And she goes, do you have any idea how much money he's making off of you? I said, I have no clue. And so she guided me to these websites where you can see like how many views these other websites get and approximately what they're making. This dude was making tens of thousands of dollars a month off of what I was writing. Okay, household name, and bills himself as pro veteran and all this stuff. America, yeah. So anyway, she said, look, we'll pay you $2 for every 1,000 views you get. She said most people, I heard a weird sound. She's like, most people pay $1 per 1,000. And she said her organization did that in the beginning, but they're going out kind of getting the cream of the crop type writers, and they're going to pay them $2 per 1,000. They were stealing other people's workers. Well, I was like, yeah. I said, she said, but you can't work for him anymore. I said, you know what? I said, I agreed to these terms with him. Let me at least contact him and give him the opportunity to do the right thing. So I sent him an email and I said, hey, mention his name, which by the way isn't even his real name. It's like a stage name or something. I said, so-and-so contacted me and they're willing to pay me, $2 per thousand for my writing. I said, I had no clue how much money you guys were making in this industry. I said, are you willing to match her or whatever? Or no, I didn't even say that. I said, do you have any plans on paying me for the work that I've been doing for you at any point? Dude messages me back and he says, if this is all about either I pay you or you stop working for me, then I think it's time we part ways. That's what he said. I was like, wow. And I just didn't respond, but we did part ways. So I went to work for this girl, and the next month, me and my wife were eating again. We were eating well. I was getting paid for the work I was doing. Nobody was coming along and skimming the cream off the top or taking it all, which was the case for this guy. And then from there, we progressed and we eventually were able to get out of the jungle and move back to the city. And from there, we were able to get from that city to back to I was able to get back to the United States and bring my family with me. And now we have the homestead. And I will not work for free. I do not work for free. And here's the irony of it. That guy, he had his downfall, and I had nothing to do with it. There was a time I almost picked up the phone and called. He was on one news network. This is when Starbucks announced that they were going to hire 10,000 refugees. Well, he goes on some news network talking about how Starbucks needs to be hiring veterans like him. He hires veterans. My hand was on the phone to call the competing network of this network and say, the whole in the story is that, yeah, he hires us, he just doesn't pay us. But I said, nope, don't do it. It's not necessary. And time has proven that wasn't necessary. It's not a household name anymore. I told this story last night to one of my buddies who was a writer. And I said, you remember so-and-so? And he goes, wow, I haven't heard that name in 10 years. Well, neither has anybody else. And you're not going to hear it here. So that's how I learned. So if you are out there and if you are writing and you are self-published and you get contacted by these people in these groups, don't think they're trying to do you a favor. They're probably not. Okay. So, I've gone on long enough here. I was going to talk about so many other things. I might have to come out and do this again later. I'm going to be in there writing. I'm doing 3,000 words a day consistently now. And 2 days last week, I had 5,000 word days. So maybe I'll come out and talk about some of the other stuff later while I'm taking my break. But I wanted to get that out there because these people are out there. That was my experiences with them. You've really got to look out for it. If you're out there reading and writing and putting in the work, you deserve to be paid for it. No matter what your work is. I mean, would you go down to the factory where they make widgets, whatever the widget is, and walk in and look around and say, wow, you guys are working hard. You're really good at it. You don't deserve to be paid. But everybody's going to use your widgets, and so they'll know who you are. Who would say yes to those terms? Obviously, I did. I hope that you don't. Okay, so thanks for being here with me for another video from Homesteading Off the Grid. If you saw anything in here, timestamp it. We'll see you next time for more.